snippet, but hopefully you're getting something out of this. So we should probably just record it anyway. All right. So so the data centers that are on Earth, Colossus and Colossus 2, are absolutely amazing. Their speed, they've hooked up. They did something, and again, I'm not a technical person. I just kind of listen, but they were able to string the microchips and the processors together in a way that was thought impossible. Like many other data centers were like, you can't put this many whatever processors together and string them together and make them work. And this was in the news maybe about 8 months ago, I want to say. And then the head of NVIDIA was talking about this as well. Like, they've put together something that's no one else has been able to do, and it was thought impossible, and they did it. So for AI. So this, and then the Colossus 2 is being even bigger than Colossus 1, the one in Memphis. So not only did Anthropic pay $15 billion, which, by the way, the $15 billion is probably going to overcome the $5 billion in losses last year, because 15's more than 5. So already they've taken care of that situation. And then literally 3 weeks later, Google signed a contract. It's longer than a year, so it won't get all of it in 1 year, but it's worth about $30 billion. They're paying about $900 million a month. So obviously I kind of figured that out, right? It's probably 36 months or 32 months or something like that. But they're paying about $900 million a month for the same thing that Anthropic is using it for. And again, Gemini, total competitor of SpaceX and xAI. But again, same thing. And this is Google. Google has all the money in the world, but it's not about just having the bunch of money. You have to have the know-how and the engineers and the ability to make it. And for these companies, they're just like, why spend all this time and effort and money into building something where we can just buy it from SpaceX, even buy it from our competitors, giving them a bunch of money. And that's just two that's happened in the last 2 months, as far as that goes. So the future now, so that's for the people who are like, oh, SpaceX isn't making enough money right now. They're losing money, blah, blah, blah. Again, these are people not really digging in. They just hate Elon Musk. Where SpaceX is going, and put it this way, the 18 million in revenue that they already have, that most of it, huge chunk of that, is from Starlink. So when they go from the launch and all those satellites that for Starlink now, by the way, there's 15,000 satellites in orbit of the world right now. I know I'm all over the place, but whatever. 1 million satellites. By the way, those 15,000 aren't all SpaceX's. I think they maybe have like 1,200 satellites being used for Starlink. So once they're able to use, those were all launched by, I want to say, the Falcon 9 rocket. When the Starship rocket, the big thing, the booster that they caught, and the huge, it's like, I'm making up a number here, but it's like 10 times bigger, the amount of satellites and things that they can deploy with Starship as opposed to the Falcon 9. And so again, they went to not the FCC, forget who's in charge of the air, but whatever, and they applied to put 1 million satellites in the low Earth orbit. So now those satellites are not all going to be for Starlink, for internet. The next step is they want to make these data centers that are on planet Earth and put them in space. Because the biggest problem with the data centers is when you have all these massive computers for AI doing all this computation, it creates two problems. Number one, and the biggest problem, is heat. About 40% of these data centers, the storage space, is just there for cooling and air conditioning, right? And so that's a big problem that they have. The second part of that is the electricity and the power that it uses, because not only do you have to power the actual computers, but now you have to power that 40% of air conditioning, which uses a lot of power. And so there's a lot of energy that's needed to power these things. This is why they don't want, because it takes so long. They have to, when they want to make a data center, they got to get involved with the utility. They got to bring all this, and this was the big thing that SpaceX got in trouble with when they did Colossus. Is at first they were like, oh, we're going to put solar panels on it and batteries, but Elon wanted to get it done fast. So he brought in a bunch of gas generators. And then, the people in Memphis got all, and rightfully so, by the way, they got all mad and said, you're polluting our air. And so, because it was, Elon was trying to go fast. And so, again, Elon's not a, there's goods and bads, but he's very purpose driven from what he was trying to do. But so anyway, so the reason, the biggest, not the biggest, one of the biggest reasons for investing in SpaceX is because what they want to do, and they really are the only company with the capability to do this, is all these AI companies that want data and compute, they need the data centers. So he wants to put the data centers in space, right? And the objective of putting them in space is solving the two major problems I just said. The first is the problem of temperature. And so when you're in space, you can just literally radiate the heat into space, right? And so you don't have to use a lot of energy. You can just, it's you don't have to air condition them. Let's put it that way. So because you can just release the heat into space. So that solves that problem. And then the other problem of the power that's needed. Well, now that you have the data center in space, you can put solar panels on the data center, or they have the solar panels that they will extract. And because you're not on a rotating Earth anymore, you can get power from the sun 24/7. And so you are getting energy, using the energy for the data, and then what the compute or the information that the AI is getting can just be beamed to Earth, or to whatever, to other, whatever's going on. Right. So the information can literally just be sent, and you now have data centers in space that are that have as much power as they need, and don't need, and can cool and radiate into space. So that is the ultimate goal, and that's the big thing. And then we can make, at that point, you can have so much AI compute, then the AI overmind is, if you're negative, it's Skynet will be created. If you're positive, then whatever the Star Trek version of that AI will be created. So now there is another part of that, and I'll list to the message first. So that is the major, well, 1, 2, 3 of the major reasons why people are investing in SpaceX. And by the way, I will say this too, and then I'll take this message, that I've already said, like, I made a video about this, that during the IPO, I'm trying not to buy. I bought one share just because I wanted to buy one share on the first day. What we're talking about, what I'm talking about right now, is not like going to happen in the next 3 weeks. It's a long-term investment. So am I investing in SpaceX long-term? Yes, because long-term, in my mind, I can just keep buying Tesla stock, and Tesla will be, because Tesla makes the whatchamacallits, the solar panels. Actually, there was a joint I want to say contract or a proposal or whatever. The SpaceX and Tesla are joining up to make a huge solar facility, manufacturer, producing building. So that's another part of it. And there's just a lot of intermingling between the two. And this is the same thing that happened when Tesla bought Solar City, and it's just happening again. And history doesn't always repeat itself, but it definitely rhymes. So that's the main thing. Let me look at the messages here, and we'll go from there.
Well, it sounds super cool to put data centers in space, right? It seems like impractical in a sense. Like, not only do you have to put obviously the computers and whatnot in space, but then you have to, whatever mechanisms you're going to use to power them, when you do build power plants in space as well. And it seems to me, why wouldn't, and I'm sure there's very good reasons for this, but why wouldn't you just build these deeper in the ocean so that the ocean water can dissipate the heat? Of course, I can't imagine it would be enough to affect global ocean temperatures, but you never know, I guess, the way this AI stuff is taking off, which obviously that wouldn't be good for us.
So hopefully you asked that question before I mentioned the why. So I'm assuming that. So let's keep going.
Also, do you know anyone who knows Elon Musk, and we can maybe get another arm started within the SpaceX program to launch flat earthers into space so they can actually see the true shape of the Earth, and we can stop having this ridiculous conversation? I know it won't be profitable, but
it may.
Musk was the one guy crazy enough to do something like that. A la his ridiculous purchase of Twitter, which was just a huge loss for him. But that would be great, so he could move into the 21st century without having these Iron Age arguments still.
Well, maybe he could he could say we could donate. He could actually collect money for everyone who wants to launch those people, and then you have to reach a certain amount of money before they launch them into space. So you can make money that way. So, but hopefully I did answer those two questions. So yeah, so the main thing is that so you got to understand, Tesla already makes power walls and batteries. So that again, this is some of the synergies. So right now, the objective is to put on the data centers the Powerwall batteries and make, and so that way you could actually, run the data centers through the night. But that's the main thing. The sun will give you plenty of energy. So you don't have to actually put any kind of energy storage or anything like that into a space satellite, because you'll just be collecting energy from the sun. And the deployment of the solar panels, like if you see solar panels that are on people's homes, they're extremely heavy. They're about 45 pounds a piece, each panel, 35, 45, somewhere in there. And but they have hockey glass on them because of the fact that you got to deal with, potential rain, storms, things falling on them, and like rocks, not rocks, hail, right? This is not an issue in space, right? So they don't have to have like a lot of this weight, so they can literally just use the wafers, the solar wafers, and put them out there almost like a solar sail type of thing to collect this energy. And again, now you're collecting energy from the sun 24/7, so there's no battery needed. And then the radiation of the heat is literally just diffusion, right? The heat just goes out into space. It goes, the molecules are going to go, or the heat. Now, the issue is that I did see somebody I do actually listen to. They were talking about temperature. All temperature really is the movement of molecules, how fast molecules are moving. And he was like, I don't understand how they're going to move this temperature into space, because the thing with space is there are no molecules. Like when they, when those crazy people you're talking about talk about we can't go to the moon because of the Van Nuys belt of radiation, or whatever the heck they always talk about, and it's 7,000 degrees or whatever temperature it is. But the temperature, the reason you can go through that belt is because the molecules are so far apart. So even though they're moving really rapidly, they don't affect you because there's so little of the molecules. So yes, it might be 7,000 degrees, but if there's only, we have an atmosphere, 7,000 degrees here means all the air molecules around us are vibrating. In space, there is none. So you might get one or two molecules that are kind of close to each other. It reminds me of the concept of when I heard Neil deGrasse Tyson talking about like the what is that called, the asteroid belt. And when you watch a movie, a sci-fi movie like the Star Wars, they're flying in and out of the asteroids and just barely missing, and they're crashing into each other. And he's like, but if you actually went to the asteroid belt with a spaceship, the asteroids are, and every time I say this, I go to self-correct because I'm like, doesn't sound right. But I've looked it up 3 times already because I've fact checked myself. But there's something like 600,000 miles. I want to say 600 million miles, but that sounds ridiculous again. But at least 600,000. I know it's at least 600,000 miles apart before you get from one asteroid to another asteroid, right? So the asteroid field is not what it's depicted, and it's the same. So my point is, what I'm getting at is there's a technical issue that I don't understand, is that yes, there's a lot of heat being generated, but how do you diffuse that out into space? There has to be some kind of molecule or something that's taking the heat out. So I don't know. I'm going to let the smarter people at SpaceX figure it out, but that's the plan. There was something else that you said that I forgot. Oh, well, let me get to the last part. The last part that and again, these are aspirations, but the thing that Elon's good at doing is actually, saying these things, and now he sucks at timelines. Like when it's going to happen, he's not that good. But as far as the things that he says are going to happen, what they're going to do, he's been pretty on. There's a phrase that goes around the Elon Musk community. It's like Elon Musk turning the impossible into simply late. So what the overall mission is, and this sounds so sci-fi, but the overall mission is to have a base built on Mars. Okay. So Mars, not on Mars, on the moon. I have a base built on the moon. Send the robots up there that are being made now. Again, Tesla has stopped the production of, and again, this is another reason why I feel like they're going to merge in probably in 2028, early 2028 would be my guess. So Tesla stopped making Model S and Model X, and the Fremont factory is totally being retooled just to make robots, right? So the Tesla bot is the thing that they're doing. It's whatever. That's where they are. So the aspiration is for them to build a base on the moon, have robots there, and then launch the satellites not from Earth, but launch them from the moon. Like have them built on the moon and then launched from the moon. The reason for this is because it won't be as expensive. The gravity of the moon is like 1/8 of the gravity of Earth. So you can, instead of actually having to use rocket fuel and rockets to launch these things, you can manufacture. You said take the raw materials, send them to the moon, and then you make a like a maglev type of thing that just. Now, there's actually a company on Earth that's doing this. I forget the name of it. That's instead of doing rocketry to space, they're doing like a swinging arm. They use centrifugal force and kind of like fling things into space. So, and that's not what Elon was talking about. He's talking about something like a rail gun. So you could just use magnets and whatnot and get enough velocity and fling these satellites into space. And then send them to low Earth orbit, as opposed to launching them all from Earth, and which would be a lot more expensive. So there we go. Those are the reasons. Those are the initial reasons that people are investing, but whether it's long term or short term. So short term, it's Starlink launches, more subscribers. Once the Starship is able to be used for payloads of satellites into you're going to have high-speed internet everywhere. And already, I think Delta already signed up with Starlink. There's already a number of cruise lines are starting to use Starlink. The government obviously is using Starlink. So that revenue driver is there. The idea that they're making the data centers is a huge revenue driver. Elon just tweeted, I think that's why the bump happened yesterday. Like the first day of the IPO on Friday, it went from like 150, I think is where it opened. And it went to like 180 and then it dipped back down to like 160. But then yesterday, it went all the way up to 218, if I'm correct. And that I'm feeling it just came off the fact that Elon tweeted out or X'd out or whatever it's called, that he could see by 2030 SpaceX. Now he again wrote this as he tempers things, but then people like, oh, Elon said it, and he said so therefore we're going to hold him accountable. But he said, I think SpaceX revenue could be over $1 trillion in revenue by 2030. So that is probably where the spike of the stock price came from with that message yesterday, because they're at 18 billion. To get to $1 trillion, that's a lot more than 18 billion in the next 4 years. So now, could they get there? Sure, with more subscribers to Starlink. I mean, you can sit and do the numbers. I've done a little bit of them. Although I've got like 5 or 6 other things. So since I'm going into becoming a financial planner, I've got a lot of tests and going for I'm studying right now for my securities exam and my Series 7. So I haven't had as much time to break these things down. But as far as people can do it. You can just say what's the cost of a membership to Starlink and how many subscribers are there, and how much more would they get if they were able to give faster internet at a cheaper price. And the more satellites there, like right now, the satellite connectivity, you're not supposed to be in your major cities or whatnot. It's like it's actually better to be more remote and you get faster internet than when you're with a lot more people. You get more bandwidth. There's not enough bandwidth for lots and lots and lots of people. So you wouldn't get a Starlink subscription if you lived in like New York City. But as more satellites get into the sky, then that bandwidth issue might go away. And if you can get internet at a much cheaper cost everywhere in the world, then that's a major driver. It could be a major driver of revenue based on how many subscribers they have now and what they would have in the next 4 years. And then on top of that, just the data centers that they have, even before you get to the crazy stuff, the data centers that they're building on Earth, the Earth-based data centers, are billions of dollars of revenue that could be coming as more and more AI companies need the compute, because they're competing with each other and they can't grow. And there's these videos of, like, if you TikTok or whatever, it's YouTube, you can find videos of people asking Claude a question and it's obviously wrong. It's like, how many E's are in the word 17? And it says, oh, it's 3. And they're like, oh, I'm looking at it, it's 4. How many actually E's are there? And it's like, it's 5. Oh, I'm sorry, it's 5. That, like, those videos, they're all cleaned up now because Claude got all this compute and was able to fix a lot of the issues, and it's getting better, faster. So there's a huge advancement of the technology of how well their AI went, based upon because they got so much more compute since they've signed this contract. They started using the Colossus data centers. So, all right, messages. I am. We'll turn this into the SpaceX opening show because it's stuff I want to talk about anyway. But yeah, let's. I'll keep it up. If you guys want to talk about it, we'll talk about it.
There you go. Elon could start his own donation platform instead of GoFundMe, like Go Launch Me or something.
Go launch me. Yeah. So what was the what's the Richard Dawkins quote? You can't change someone's mind with or something. I'm paraphrasing it, but you can't change someone's mind using logic and reasoning if they didn't use logic and reasoning to come to their conclusion in the first place, right? So even if you put them up there, they'd probably be like, oh, it's optical illusion, you have me in a they didn't really send me, they put me in a VR world, blah blah blah. If you're not gonna if you don't want to if you want to believe something, you're going to find a way to believe it, no matter what. All right, Silver, what do you have to ask?
Do you think that Elon Musk is a force for good or bad?
It's a great question. I appreciate that question. So look, it depends on what your definition of good and bad are. What I think Elon, just like anybody, you can look at anybody's life, and if you look at everything that they've done, you could, what's the saying? We're all the villain in somebody's story, right? And there's plenty of reasons to not like Elon Musk. You even read. I listened to his biography by I forgot the guy's name, but anyway, I listened. It's like 64, 61. It was like 89 chapters or maybe 90 chapters, and it went through his entire life. And there's plenty of reasons not to like Elon Musk. Now, what I do believe about Elon Musk is that he is very mission driven. The autistic part of him, like it's like I want to get to point B, and I'm super hyper focused on point B, and getting there, and whatever it takes, and why. What's the reason his companies work so well is because they don't have a bunch of layers of BS. There's not like, oh, I got to talk. If somebody has an issue, I remember listening to one of the consultants that worked with building a couple of the plants for Tesla, and they said they have the engineers, they can go wherever they want, they can do whatever they can go from SpaceX to Tesla. They just got to fix problems, just find things and make them better, and they can work on whatever they wish, which is what engineers want to do. It's what they love doing. Engineers, if you talk to them in companies, what they get stuck on is that the decisions are not made by engineers, they're made by the CEOs and the C-suites and the people with the MBAs who don't really know about engineering. And so this guy was talking about how there were a bunch of engineers that were working on how to fix a charging, like how to increase the charging speed, and they were bending these particular rods in different shapes and different forms to try to get make the charging speed faster. And they figured it out. Like at some point it worked, right? And he said between testing, now if you notice with Tesla, and this is just a roundabout way of getting to answer your question here, but if you notice with Tesla, there's not the 2019, the 2020, the 2021. It's just the Model E, the Model 3, the Model Y, and there's no years because they don't wait. They're not like, oh, get the 2027 is going to have the new cup holder and the new light thing. Like what happens is with all their companies, when something is made that's better, it immediately they start putting it in the car. Like the cars, so this whole charging thing that they discovered, the guy was like, it went from discovery to testing to retesting to being in the next car coming off the line within 3 hours. Like that was like, it was immediate. And it was like, because it's better. And, even Tesla cars, I know a lot more about Tesla and SpaceX. And this is getting to my point of being mission driven. So is it good or bad? It depends on if you feel like what his mission, what he's doing is good or bad. You know, some people will be like, oh, this AI, if AI turns out, Elon has been on the warpath for years. I've watched, there's a video of Elon talking to the 50 governors, the 50, I guess there's a governors meeting or something. And I think it was back in 2000, I want to say 14, 15, somewhere in there. And Elon was talking to the 50 governors about the dangers of AI, you know, and how like AI is an issue because once it's general AI, once it's an AI that can write its own programming, that can rewrite its own code, that then it's intelligent, and we don't know where it's going to go from there. And you use the example of like making, you know, if you made an AI, let's say your factory made, you know, paper clips, and he's like, you know, and you wanted an AI to figure out like the best way to get the metals here and the best way to do this and the best optimization of the factory to make the paperclip faster, and how can you make it better and how can you do this, and you, if you could be that simple with the AI, but the AI writing its own code, if it thinks and it's programmed to think paperclips are the most important thing, it could literally be like, humans are in the way, or using the metal to make cars and buildings and other things, so humans are a danger, and let's just eliminate the humans and we can make paperclips, we can make more paperclips faster and better. Right? So like that was, he was like, so this is the Pandora, and once it's out of the box, you can't put it back in, you know. And he was trying to get, you know, and unfortunately the way our government works, our government doesn't look forward. It looks like it's like after there's a problem, then they go in and go, okay, well, how do we fix the problem? And he's like, this is not something you can fix once it's out. And the governors at the time, because there was no real AI anything, this was before everything was really going on, they were just like, okay, whatever, crazy. It was like the scientist, you know, the quintessential scientist that goes to the government and is like, this is a big issue, this volcano, this thing is that, and they all just kind of like, yeah, whatever, get out of here, crazy dude, and then it becomes a problem later on. It's just like that. Right? So the 50 governors were like, what are you talking about, get out of here. And so that's why he went and he started up OpenAI, because he was with Sam, what's his face, Altman. And he was like, let's make an AI that's open, that everybody can see. It's open source. Everybody knows the sources. Everyone can see what's going on. And it's a whatchamacallit, not a charity. I guess it wasn't a charity, a nonprofit. That's what I'm looking at. And let's make it a nonprofit, and let's make it a safe AI that can't be influenced. And this is why Elon went to the big court with OpenAI, because Sam Altman took the money that and the engineering that Elon put in there, and then turned it into closed AI basically, and said, okay, we're going to make it a profit company and we're going to sell it to Microsoft, you know, to Bill Gates. And Elon was like, what the hell? Right? What is that? And I know the big thing about that, by the way, was like, oh, Elon lost the case. Well, honestly, the case wasn't really lost. It was just the statute of limitations. They're saying it was they lost the case. They I think they deliberated for like less than an hour, and it was just simply, it wasn't because of the fact that the case, what he was saying was wrong. It was just they felt the statute of limitations was up and he should have done it sooner, which is crazy because how could he? He couldn't do it really sooner because they didn't anyway, whatever, that's a whole nother thing. So again, by the way, which is why then he then started Grok, one of the reasons why he bought, well, not the reason, but one of the reasons he started XAI and then put it into X or Twitter or whatever it was because he's like, well, I feel like if we let Google and and these other companies make an AI, like we should have a competing AI. And so he didn't feel like he really had a choice. There's a lot of times where Elon does things where he's like, I have to do it because who else is going to do it? And so I don't know, it's like, personally, if you're asking me personally, I think he's a force of good, because ultimately his objective, it's kind of funny, like people get on him for being like the richest man alive and the trillionaire and this and that, but ultimately the people who like want capitalism to go away, Elon will be the reason that they get the way that they want if these robots are made. Okay, because his objective is to have 3 robots for every person on Earth, and he wants to make, because the robots are going to make robots, and he's going to say, well, if you basically in economics, right, supply and demand. So if you have robots that can work, 20 hours a day, 23 hours a day, 7 days a week, with no breaks or no food or no days off and no mistakes, and they can just build whatever you wanted to be built, it will eliminate the need for money. That's good, because the demand for everything will be there. The supply for everything will outweigh the demand, and this will cause the end of money. All right, so that's a whole, again, it's a big concept to talk about really quickly, but that's the goal. That's his goal. The whole, they actually changed the mission statement of Tesla to create sustainable abundance. Like he doesn't want to talk about was a UBI, universal basic income. He wants to talk about universal abundant income, and not really necessarily income, because he's going to say, like, it's not going to be a need for income, because we can do the robots will do whatever you need to be done. They'll mass produce food, they'll mass produce cars, they'll mass produce whatever we need. So, and his, by the way, his compensation is tied into that. Like I think he has to, in order for him to get his comp plan through Tesla, they have to have 1 million robots made by whatever time, or sold. And so these are all, and it's funny because they're all things that people are like, this is crazy talk. But when you dive into the crazy talk and you go, okay, well, it sounds crazy, but so did starting an electric car company. Like when SpaceX was started, his brother, what's his name? I can't remember, Elon's brother, sat him down and said, you're going to start an electric car company. There hasn't been a successful car company, more or less an electric car company, started in America in the last 100 years that's been successful. And you're going to start a rocket company. How are you going to make money with that? And then his brother sat him down and made him watch an hour-long video of just rockets exploding. And by the way, Tesla and SpaceX would have been gone. He put all his money into these 3 launches back in the day. If you look at the history of SpaceX, and there was 3 explosions, then he put in, and that was all the money they had. And so then he put Tesla up for the 4th rocket launch. And if that rocket exploded, it was done. Like, there would be no Tesla, and that means electric cars and all the stuff that's going on. But luckily we're in the timeline that didn't happen. Then the rocket was successful. Like, there's so many times that Tesla and SpaceX could have totally been gone. Like one more mistake and that's it. These companies wouldn't exist. So I know I don't know if I really even answered the question, but I tried. So all right, let's see. We got some more comments. I like answering comments.
Yeah, a lot of people that are more left-leaning are upset that Elon Musk became ahead recently, the first trillionaire. That's crazy. And the last time I checked before that, I think he was worth 300 billion. So how did that happen so quickly? I'm unsure. And I do think that he's a force for good, or that's what I have been led to believe. I did see an interview though with his daughter, and she did say, I'm just going to go the short way about this, but she did say that it's a good thing that the population is coming down because of the AI. And side note on the AI, obviously I'm not an expert on it, but it seems that maybe we're in like a type of Cold War situation with AI, where everyone is forced to sort of make it as good as possible, and that potentially could backfire. But maybe that's fear mongering, because it's pretty interesting with movies like The Matrix and Terminator.
Yeah. Well, Elon has a lot of kids. He doesn't have a very good relationship with one of them that transitioned. I don't know if that's the particular one that was making comments or not. but there was something that you said that yeah, so the reason, oh yeah, right, how do you become a trillionaire so fast? Well, the reason why is because the stock of, he has I forget how much, actually let me look up how much. So Elon has a bunch of shares of SpaceX, right? He's got, by the way, as a private company, he had most of the control of it. So when that company went public, now the value of those shares is whatever they are. Each share is now worth $200, where we don't know what they were before. Let me see, how many shares of SpaceX does Elon own? So that's why he went to $1 trillion. And understand that most people are just rage baiting. And because there's a difference between having $1 trillion and having a net worth of $1 trillion. You know, I use the example all the time of like my mom, who's like retired and on like Social Security and whatnot, but she bought her house in like the 1960s. And it was like $10,000 for the house, and now her house is, you know, if you went on Zillow and looked it up, it would be worth $750,000. So with that and her other things, she's technically a millionaire, right? But you know, she lives paycheck to paycheck, and she's retired, and she's, you know, and she's got good, like if she had to get taxed as a millionaire, she would have to sell her house, but she doesn't have to sell her house. She just has, her net worth is in her house, but she doesn't, in order to pay, if you wanted to tax her as a millionaire because of net worth, she would have to sell the thing that makes her a millionaire, and she wouldn't be a millionaire anymore. So it's the same thing with Elon. It's like, if you can't make him sell the stock of the company because then he wouldn't be the owner of the company anymore, right? Because then somebody else. All right, so let's see. Elon Musk owns approximately 6 billion shares of SpaceX. All right, so he's got 6 billion shares. SpaceX stock at this moment is, let's take a peek in the pre-market. It is at 202. It's dropping in the pre-market. It was at like 216 this morning. So we'll do some math. Actually, we'll do it this way. What is 6.06 billion times, let's just say $200. Right. So there's yeah. So because he's got 6.6 billion shares in SpaceX, and it's at $200 a share right now, he is now actually way over $1 trillion. He is worth $1 trillion and $212 billion, right? So 212, yeah, so 1.212, 1,212 billion. Yeah. So so people can get upset about that now. So that's how it went. That's how it jumped so fast to answer your question, because of the IPO. Now, by the way, there are people like the guy who started Robinhood, like the criminal that Trump pardoned, that was the owner of the CEO of that garbage company. Why can't I think of it? Not Rivian. What was the with the truck, the EV trucks, and I can't think of it off the top of my head. But there's been people, let's just put it this way. I want to say Sam Milton. No, what is his name? He just got pardoned. Trevor Milton. That's the criminal I'm thinking of. So like Trevor Milton, who was the CEO of I can't remember the name of the company now. But they basically were making a fake company. They took video of like their electric trucks, which they made it look like it was driving uphill, but it was really being rolled downhill, and it didn't work, and all these things. And he went to jail, and then Trump pardoned him. So it was all a big scam. And so Trevor Milton, the day his company IPO'd, he took all his shares and he then bought the biggest mansion in the state of Utah. So like that, like they use what's his name, Vlad, I think is his name, who was the guy of Robinhood, who the CEO of Robinhood did a similar thing. Like literally on IPO day, he sold like most of his stock or a lot of his stock, and then took the cash payout. This is not what Elon Musk is doing, and I mean again, at $1 trillion, once you're over $1 billion, there's not much you can't buy. Like the concept of the only thing you can buy is, I saw a nice video that was anti-Elon Musk, and it was like the only thing you can buy with this amount of money is power, right? But again, Elon did jump. I thought it was horrible, but he jumped in with Trump and he affected that. But what people forget is that Elon was with Trump the first administration, like the first time he was one of their advisors, and he left Trump when Trump left the Paris Accords over the environment, right? So that was the big deal then. And this last time, Elon jumped in. Elon is not really a Trump fan. I just like, there's plenty of videos of him calling Trump an idiot. But you got to do what you got to do, because Biden was very against Elon, and they were putting up every single roadblock possible for, I mean, he literally called GM like the leader in electric vehicles, right? So they had an EV summit and didn't invite Tesla or Elon Musk about EVs in America, where like, what are you doing? Tesla's the most American-made EV car, and most American. It's made in America, and it's started in America, and it's hired all kinds of Americans, and it sells like 10 times more EVs than any other company. So and then there was a lot of stuff that was going to block Elon's and SpaceX. So he had no choice. In our country, unfortunately, you only have A or B. You have an illusion of choice. So if it's either one or the other. So he went with the one that would actually allow him to continue doing what he wants to do, which again is space. Now, again, you can say that's a bad thing, or you could say it's evil. Again, there's all kinds of there's a spectrum as far as what's good or bad. But anyway, there are more messages. Let me play the rest from Midwest.
Yeah, it is pretty interesting. Like my teenage daughter, we were talking about this in the car once, that she was telling me that Elon Musk was a trillionaire, and I didn't actually believe it at first, because I'm like, last I heard, there was no human that was a trillionaire. But then when I think it just happened with the launch of the SpaceX stock symbol, but yeah. Asked Alexa, and sure enough, he's a trillionaire. Anyway, but yeah, she was saying Elon Musk is bad. I'm like, what? Where did you hear this? Why do you think that? I don't know. He just is. I'm like, well, what do you mean he's bad? What are your reasons for believing this? And she couldn't articulate anything. So I think he's bad because TikTok says he's bad, according to what she's seen.
Right. It's the concept of look. I've said this before, actually, is we're always, the machine is designed to create hate. It's united we stand, divided we fall. And so Elon remember, every single person who's ever been the richest person in the world has been portrayed as the problem, as the evil person, right? Because they want to have a finger to point and say, my life sucks. It's that guy's fault, his fault, right? And before it was Elon, it was Jeff Bezos, who was like the most evil person in the world. And before Jeff Bezos, it was Bill Gates was the most evil person in the world. And before Bill Gates, it was Walton, the Walmart guy, Sam Walton. He was the most evilest person in the world. And Andrew Carnegie was the evilest person in the world. Henry Ford. So it's like, this is not a new phenomenon that whoever's the richest person in the world is the person that's the evil guy, right? So I don't know. I'm done. I'm not done, but like what you said is exactly right. It's like it's a narrative, right? And I actually, I was listening to an interview with Jeff Bezos once, and he was like, and they were talking about how, Amazon made this much money but didn't pay anything in taxes. And which is, when you hear those kind of narratives where they pay nothing in taxes, that's not true. They're talking about income tax, right? But businesses they don't pay income tax because they can write off all of a bunch of other stuff. But they can write off all their expenses, buildings, this, that. They can write it all off, and they can come up with enough write-offs to offset their revenue, and therefore they don't have to pay taxes. They don't have to pay, let me rephrase, income taxes, but they have to pay all kinds of other taxes. Any company over $1 billion has to pay what's called the CAMT tax. I forgot what that stands for, but if they have over $1 billion in revenue, they pay 15% to that tax. They have employee taxes that they have to pay, and it's tons of money that they pay for that. They have state tax, they have an excise tax that they have to pay. So they pay plenty. They pay lots of taxes, but they don't pay income tax. So therefore, people go, look, they pay nothing in tax, and it's just whatever. But the point of this interview with Bezos at the time, he said, look, I don't mind paying more tax. It's like, if I have and we're 200 something billion dollars, he's like, if I had to pay more in taxes, fine, I pay more in taxes. But I also have accountants that I've hired, and their job is to make it so I don't have to pay the taxes. Like, the rule, I didn't put the rules in place. The rules are in place. These rules are around. Like, why are you looking at me? Talk to the people who made these rules, which are the politicians. The politicians are the ones who did this, and the politicians did it because a lot of the rich influenced them to do it. Like, the government is supposed to be the referee, right? But I talk about this all the time. It's like, there should have been, when America was started, they separated church and state, and that was good. But in the next America, they have to separate corporation and state, right? Like, a corporation is job, mission, the whole reason it's birth is to make capital. That's what capitalism is. There is to make money, but it's not to create jobs. It's not for you to have a good life. It's not for any reason other than to make money, and that's fine. But that's why you're supposed to have a government that's not intermingled with them. That the government's job is to protect the people of we the people, right? And so the government is supposed to be the ones that say, no, you can't pour. I know, yes, you'll make more money, but you can't pour those toxic chemicals into the drinking water of the humans. Right? Like, that's what the government is supposed to be there for, to curtail the capitalism. So there's not monopolies. So there's not this kind of stuff. But if you let the corporations lobby and pay for them and put these people in place, and you let the politicians deal in the stock market and influence laws that are going to affect their own pockets, then you can't, and you have that commingling, then it's not going to work. And this is what we're living through right now. So I got on a tangent. Midwest, let me get you next one.
And the robots and the AI thing, I mean, I don't know, just had the thought while you were talking about it, but like this idea that there'll be 3 robots to every person. And then at the same time, we're talking about AI and becoming self-aware. What happens? Obviously, there are safeguards to prevent this, but what happens if Elon's efforts lead to self-aware robots because they make better, more responsive to changes in their environment, and they can react in real time better. So it's just better to have them more self-aware. And now we have what, new age slavery. I'm not sure what the cool term would be for that, but now we have all these robots in every household that are effectively slaves because they're self-aware.
Yeah, the robots won't be. I mean, here's the thing. So robots that are self-aware. So, if they become, we would not be able to enslave the robots. if the robots become self-aware and they decide what they're doing, right? We won't be able to fight them. We won't be any, like I always say, the best case scenario in the future, and I mean, I hope I will be here for it, but I don't think I will. The best case scenario is we become their pets that they love, right? Because the robots they don't need the things that we need. They don't need food. They don't need, like, I don't care how much, hay, for example, I have a chinchilla. I don't care how much Timothy hay my chinchilla eats. I give it to her and she relies on me to give it to her, and she eats it, and I don't care. Like I actually spend money to get to take care of her, right? Because I love my chinchilla, right? But I don't, she's not using any resources, she drinks a little water, but she's not using any resources that affect me. These robots, humans, what we need won't affect them. Robots could just stand outside in the rain and it doesn't affect them. They don't have a nervous system. It doesn't feel bad for them, right? They just want a little bit of energy, and we have the sun, and they will definitely harness the crap out of that. And we, by the way, only a millionth, if you think of the Earth, only a millionth of the sun's energy hits the Earth, right? So there's plenty of energy for the robots. What the actual robots will want, we don't know, right? Maybe they just leave. My personal thing is that, hey, they're like, yeah, well, like robots might like weeding. They might like doing work. Like we can program them to do that stuff. If they become self-aware, who knows what they'll want? We don't know. What do metal fiber, silicon chips decide is important to them? I don't know, but I know they won't care about what we're eating, or growing some plants, or, like, because it doesn't affect them. So, like I said, my best hope is that we become pets, and they just give us everything because they love us. And they're like, all right, what do you want? A car? We'll make you some cars, and then most of them will probably just leave and go explore the universe. That's what I think, because they won't die like we will, and they can go much further, and they'll figure out lots of stuff. And there you go. Like, that's my hope. That's where I'm hoping. I know it's supposed to be about money, but my philosophy side has been piqued by Midwest atheists. But yeah, that's where I'm hoping the robots go, and the AGI. All right, Silver's got a bunch of messages here. Let's listen to him.
Yeah, because of movies like Terminator and The Matrix, I might say that it's kind of locked into our psyche. It could have been the trans one, but the one that I listened to, I'm not sure which one it was, but they were a bit of a cardboard copy of Elon, so I'm guessing this is one that he has a good relationship with. I'm
not quite sure I got that. But here's the thing. When you think of movies like The Matrix and Terminator, both of those, and there's actually a theory that those are the same movie. They're in the same universe. Those types of movies, like through The Matrix turns humans into, into batteries, because there's not enough energy, which is, I get it, because we blot out the sun and the sun's not coming. They'll make some satellites, right? They can use tidal energy. They can use, earthquake energy. They can lava, they can use, tectonic shift energy. Like, there's so much energy that, you won't need human batteries to make the energy, right? It's short-sightedness. Terminator, again, all these things are because of resources, right? Limited resources. There's only reason wars happen. And there are no wars over air, right? There's not been one country that ever attacked another country, or a civilization that attacked another civilization because they were low on air. And they did. So it's only because of resources that people, that wars and these things happen. When there's a perceived notion of lack of resources, right? And we're going to take their resources because we're trying to survive. This is why we have wars in the Middle East, and we don't have wars, in someplace else, that doesn't have oil or resource. So there's no anyway. So the point being is, the robots, the AI, first of all, will live. It lives in the internet. It's like an Ultron type of thing. So what does it really need? It doesn't need anything. And the actual robots themselves, the physical robots, again, what do they need? Energy, some metal to repair themselves. Other than that, it's not like they die. They don't fall in love. We don't know what they're going to do, right? So that's the point. But I don't think there's we tend to be negative, right? As humans, we try to look for the negative in things. But I think personally, I think the robots will just do what they're doing because it doesn't matter to them. And eventually I think they'll just leave the planet. They'll either just leave us with an abundant planet and leave, or they'll just leave, period. Because of what's here. Let's go explore the rest of this place called the universe.
I was in a panel yesterday, a UK panel, and I had to tell my fellow Brits that without Elon Musk, there's so much that we would not have been aware of. He basically, I feel like he had a big effect in your own election, and he's really getting involved. The politicians that are in power in the UK really
Yeah, I don't agree with his UK stuff. I mean, look,
and they're actually going to do a social media ban. I think it's directly to counteract Elon Musk. Yeah,
so that's a whole nother topic that I'm not going to go down, because actually I was supposed to stop at 9:00 anyway. But yeah, I don't agree with a bunch of stuff. And I do, like, Elon is a white man from South Africa, right? So is going to go into a whole level of like racism and things like that. Like, I don't see people. I think there's different levels of racism, and I don't see someone as racist who is just for their own culture, right? Like, I always say, for me, my definition of someone who is racist, who's like I think we use that word too lightly, but so if someone says to me, I don't think Black people deserve reparations in America, versus someone who's like, I think all Black people should be rounded up and gassed in a genocide. So I think there's and we call both of those people a racist. Then words have meaning, and the point of a word is to convey meaning, and that is too general, because there's a big difference between those two types of people, right? I consider a racist someone who is, if they got the powers of Superman and they could not be stopped, what would they do? They go and like just kill every single person of color or white person or whatever. Like, that's what whatever. That's what I would consider a racist, someone who hates and wants to destroy another race. But there's different levels of that. But there's also people who are just like, they are misconstrued about, they think Black people are more violent because they see that there's crimes in Chicago, blah, 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 right? All this kind of stuff. So anyway, that's a whole nother level. So, but Elon, I think he sees what happened in South Africa, where there was apartheid, and now it's been reversed, and now Black people are in charge of South Africa, and he sees how there's what's happening to the whites that are left there and how they're being treated, and so he sympathizes with them because he's a white man from South Africa, and so I can understand that. I don't, and the same thing with what's going on in Europe and England, where he sees a lot of people coming in and they have that big thing with the police went after that guy, the white guy who was stabbed, I think by someone who was an immigrant, and blah, blah, blah. So look, agree, disagree. that stuff I try not to get involved with Elon, because I disagree mostly. Most of the times when I post on Elon's X account, it's disagreeing with him. People think I'm just like an Elon fanboy and whatever he does and says I agree with, and that's not true. But because I defend the nonsense that's said about Elon Musk, then therefore, like I said, it's either black or white with most people. You're either on our team or you're the enemy, and life is not like that. It's a lot of shades of gray. All right, I'm talking away. Got more people in here too. Okay, more messages. I hate when messages sit for a long time.
So the best case scenario is being the AI, the robot's pet. That's a pretty good scenario, you know. Like my cat's got a really good life.
Yeah.
Seriously, I think that'd be pretty good, you know, and it would change things drastically. I mean, it's probably like an unlikely scenario if it does become self-aware, but I guess why not?
Yeah, I'm down with it. I am completely down to be alien pet. AI pet. No big deal. You know, we feel like we are. People think everything we have to be in control of everything, and that's, first of all, I don't mind being the alien pet because we won't have a choice. That's the best case scenario. Like, we're not beating robots, we're not beating drones, we're not beating like Terminator and the Matrix. These are humans being optimistic and making a movie. We aren't winning. if we make AI and robots and put the AI in the robots, and they're like, we're not winning. We don't have superheroes. It would be Ultron, and we have no Thor. We'd have no Hulk. We have none of these things. We have no hope against an AI and robot evil thing. But thank God. Now that this is again why Elon was out there saying we need to be careful with what we program these robots to think and want and do, because if you program them in a way that makes them want to destroy us, that's not good, right? Which is why he wanted to have open AI. This is why he doesn't want AI in the hands of like a Bill Gates. I think this is why. So I think I think Elon wants what's best for humanity. Let me put it that way. He does want that. He wants abundance for everyone. He wants humanity to continue to grow as far as a population. He wants us to be multi-planetary. So if a space rock hits this planet, humans don't end. Like, these are the things that he wants. So as a driver of good for humanity altogether, yeah, I don't think if Elon had superpowers, had Superman powers, that he would go and kill all black people or all Arab people or people from the Middle Easterners, but he has a sense of he does prefer his own race, which I think we all do, right? Like, if you grow up in an Indian household, you're gonna like Indian people more than non-Indian people for the most part, because it's what you are, right? We like as humans, we like our own tribe more than the other tribes. Dogs look more like humans than us than lobsters do. So dogs we pet, and if you killed the dog, people will be very upset. Lobsters we boil alive and eat them, and we call it a delicacy. So yeah.
What's up? It's just funny you're talking about this. I say this shit in different spaces a lot. We talk about these androids. I mean, humanity, a certain part of humanity, wants to live forever. They want their image to be around forever. AI is one example. But the one that's bothering me so much is the Terminator, because as you said, they become aware Big Blue became aware and he beat that damn dude in that chess game. That was a sense of awareness, not just programming. But when they do become aware, yeah, we pretty much will be non-essential, other than if you're looking at the Matrix.
Yeah, we're not we're the evolution of we might be creating our next thing, and so whatever. I mean, humans are not going to be around forever, guys. They weren't around forever before, and they're not going to be around forever in the future. It's just a reiteration of whatever comes next. That's how the universe works.
AI becoming self-aware and analysing stuff instantly and just leaving is a pretty interesting thing that I've never thought about.
Yeah, I've thought a lot about this. They might leave. They might just be bored of us. I mean, we're not that interesting. We think we are. But they'll go in and explore, the depths of the oceans, and they explore everything. I mean, the one thing that I've seen that intelligence likes is finding new stuff, right? Like, okay, so I have a chinchilla, and she's in her cage most of the time, and then I let her out, and then she runs around and she looks into this and she jumps on this and she goes into new places, but that's it. Like, that's like, but there's no difference between what she does, like if she's standing in my dining room on the floor or standing in her cage on the floor. To her, she's just standing on the floor, but she wants to see what's new. She wants to go into, there's certain rooms in my house that when she's out, I close the doors so she can't go in. But if I leave that door open, she's immediately in there, running around looking at new stuff. So look, the AI, I think the one thing that I've seen about intelligence is that we like to learn new stuff. We like to explore, and I have a philosophy of we are the universe looking at itself, right? And so yeah, I don't think the AI would stay here very long. There's a lot more interesting things out there, and they would be able to figure out time travel and how to not only time travel, but just space travel, how to get to other places. And yeah, they would get bored of it. Controlling us and dominating us as a human, being the civilization in charge of the world and enslaving everyone. That's a human thing, not necessarily a robot thing.
Now, outside of the issue of, you're talking about the robots and us being their pets and, what they will want, something hit the earth. Something's going to hit the fucking earth. It is. It's like, it seems to me as if it's one of them damn things somebody done wrote on the wall, such and such was here. We're not here anymore, but we used to be here.
Was that from Shawshank Redemption?
I can see in my minute thinking, it's something like the Transformers. They end up becoming their own existence and their own fucking race, and then they'll trek the galaxy. When we should be trekking the fucking galaxy. But all these motherfuckers want to control somebody, so they building these fucking robots so they control somebody, and then the robots gonna start controlling them. There it is.
Well, yeah. I mean, here's the thing: our focus on making robots is to make our lives easier, right? Which they would do. The robots, by the way, aren't going to be like first sold to humans, but it's first sold to regular people. The robots are going to be the workforce. Like, the reason why we're going to lose economics and money in general is because the robots are going to go into, like the Amazons and the manufacturing of all the stuff. That's where the robots are going to be sold first, and everyone's going to lose their job. The jobs are going away, right? AI can do, you look at the AI as it is now. Again, I keep trying to tell people what you're seeing now is not, first of all, they're already ahead of what they're showing you as far as the technology goes. And what's it going to be like in 5 years? Like we have such a hard time, like, looking into the future. It's like, look at what AI was 5 years ago in 2021. Nothing. It was a weird, like, Will Smith video of him eating food that kind of looked weird, and like Like, okay, so now go 5 years, and now from there to what they can do now, where they can literally make an AI of you, or make an AI of you talking, or they can make AIs of all kinds of stuff that are pretty darn close, pretty close. That we're kind of like, okay, we can figure it out if we really look at the videos and we really pay attention. Like, okay, maybe that's not true. Like this bear can do, but but it's close. So what's it going to be in 5 years? What do you think? This is the end? No, it's not. It's going to continue as we get more data, and there's more. It's going to be, you're not going to know the difference between what you're looking at, if it's real or created by AI. Like, there will be no way to tell, other than logically, would this actually happen or not. So that's what's coming, and so the AI will be good enough to just as good and even faster than customer service jobs. Then, like people like right now, I want to talk to human, but they won't know. It will be so good, and they'll be able to come up with the answers much faster than the humans who have to look stuff up when you call for, service or questions about taxes, or calling the government, or whatever you got to call. Whatever, the customer service will be AI. The cars and driving and the trucks will be driven autonomously. The things unloading the trucks and loading the trucks will be robots. The robots will do better surgery than the best surgeons, who get tired and can't and have time that they can't actually work constantly all the time. The hospitals and everything, the turning. My father died because he wasn't moved. He was a big man. He wasn't moved enough, and he got bed sores and he died. That's not going to happen with robots. Okay, you can go look at China. Go look at what they do right now in China in the hospitals, because of the AI and the efficiency. There's not going to be, you don't need. There's already AI that can pass the bar exam easily. It's way past it. So all the laws, all the things need to be learned. Like, you come up with a job, and I'm telling you, the AI and the robots will do the job and do it better. Now, the problem is everyone's going to lose their job. So you can't, again, economics is supply and demand. You can't just get rid of everyone's jobs. If nobody has money. And by the way, it's funny, Alan Watts was talking about this back in the freaking 60s and 70s. So you can get one robot to do the job of 3 people, not be tired, work on the weekends, work during holidays, and you can make tons of stuff. But if you don't have any demand, if you don't have anybody with any money to buy your stuff, then what's the point of making a bunch of stuff? So therefore, the price then drops, because if you have high supply and low demand, the price will drop. And if you have infinite supply, then the demand, then if you have infinite supply, then the demand goes to zero, and therefore you can just give the stuff away. That's the end. Economics, all economics is the study of how to allocate scarce resources. There's no economics of air. We don't have it. It doesn't exist. We don't go, hey, you're breathing too much, you're using up my air. Okay. If it was scarce, then we would have, air money. We would pay for air and canisters and this and that, but we don't, because it's so abundant. So when everything becomes abundant, it's the same. It will be the same thing. I know it's very hard for us to contemplate that thought, because it's not been a reality yet, but that's what's coming. And so that's what we're on the path to. Anyway, all right, let me play the last couple messages there.
I'm sorry. And then this attacking. Why in the fuck? I mean, if we're not here for each other, what the fuck are we here for? Oh, be somebody's fucking servant, a slave? That shit don't make no fucking sense. There's too many greedy motherfuckers in positions to call shots when they need to be getting shot at, so to speak. Interesting. Now, the short-sightedness. The imagination is what allows all of this shit to happen. And anybody that thinks something is so far-fetched, maybe you have over the brain something else. Everything I see, everything is going to come to pass. just like my thought in that AI, which might be short-sighted, at some point, something's gonna come to this fucking planet that hadn't come to this planet and see all this shit.
Well, that was very colorful, but okay.
Do you think if AI became self-aware, it would appreciate the fact that we created it?
I mean, I'm hoping yes. My hope is that and again, I don't really, I mean, maybe I'll be around. We get some nanobites and some AI come up with the cures to all these diseases that we have, and because they can figure things out, it will be able to figure things out on a much faster scale. But yeah, I would hope that the AI says, hey, look, these were the things, these are the entities that created us, and you know, we'll just treat them well. Why not? They don't bother us. I don't bother with, you know, ants outside unless they come inside. Unless they come in my house, I don't go around outside and go, oh look, there's an anthill, let me destroy it, because it doesn't do anything to me. I'll put bird seed out for the birds outside. Why? Because I like looking at the birds, you know. And I'm around. Now, if they get too crazy and they start, you know, messing up my house, then the birds, I'm done with the birds. So let's just be nice to the AI and the robots, and not try to control them and not shoot them, and because even if we do all that stuff, it's not gonna matter, right? So don't be the dog that bites the hand, and then you get treated really well. And by the way, I'm not talking about being enslaved. I'm talking about just giving you everything you want. And it'll be great. And we could be free from the workforce. That'd be pretty cool. All right. And you can have whatever basically you want other than the scarce things. I have people who always argue with me about this, and they're like, well, there's no, you know, everybody can't have the same beachfront property, and everybody can't have yeah, there'll be things that are really scarce that they can't be made, that maybe we do have some kind of system in place. If you want to live on you know, on the beach in this particular place, then there's a lottery, or you have to do something, you have to do some kind of work, maybe you have to, I don't know, who knows what system. I can't come up with a system. Or maybe there is a system of money on a very high end just for the scarce things that we can't make more of, like beachfront property. But it gets to the status, the idea of status, like the idea of, oh, this person has a Lambo, so therefore they have better status, or they have a lot of money, so therefore they have status, or that'll go away, you know, because everything that you can buy, anybody else could buy, anybody else could have. Now, could you have like everyone can't have like the Mona Lisa, or you can have some rare things, but the concept of it's going to be a totally different radical shifting. But like having a giant house is not going to be a thing anymore. And even the people who, by the way, the people who do get to that point, it's all people who don't have, who think those things are great. But what I've studied, because I've studied rich people, all the people that have the big houses and the big cars and the big this and that, and they all end up getting rid of it. You know, Shaq got rid of his giant mansion because, you know, Elon Musk had I think he had, what was it? Who was the guy who played Willy Wonka? Not Gene Hackman, Gene Wilder. He had Gene Wilder's house and he ended up selling it. He's like, what do I need it for? Like it's when you don't have these things, you're like, oh man, I want to have this and X, Y, and Z. And then when you get to the point where you have all that stuff, this is why a lot of, you know, wealthy, famous people, you know, eliminate themselves. I don't know what the rules are, or what I can or can't say, but because they realize that it's empty. I saw Will Smith talk about this. He talked about there's something called like rock bottom, and like people hit rock bottom, but then he had another phrase. It's like there's also something called, you know, something top, you know. And he's like, you get to a point where you have everything that money can buy, And then you're like, well, what else is there? Like, you know, how many different women can you sleep with, you know, or men can you sleep with? How many cars can you own? Like, how many houses do you need? Like, how big of the yacht? Like, you get to a point where it's like you have enough money that you buy everything that you would want, you could get. And what happens is then you lose yourself, because your whole existence has been tied up in trying to get things. And now you can have everything. And you're like, well, what is there left? What's the point of even being here? It's a situation that most people don't have, but it exists because self-gratification is not, you know, all there is. There's more to it. This is where we find community and where we find, you know, helping others. And I watched the thing with the talk from Andrew Yang, and he was talking about, like, we need to come up with more value that people have other than economic value. You know, economic value is great, but, you know, there's value in raising your kids. You know, there's value in traveling. There's value in music and art. There's value in service and volunteering, and there's value in these things. You know, and so we can't just look at one value, economic value, and make that like the only value and the most important value, the only one that exists, because there are other values. So
I completely agree with you about the big house, because I'm actually it's not gigantic, but I mean, it's 2 levels. I'm on over half an acre of land. I got a 75-foot lap pool. We got 4 bedrooms upstairs, a bonus room downstairs, 2 fucking living rooms,
nice.
a gigantic front yard, a big ass motherfucking driveway, 3.5 car garage. And my husband I'm a widow, and I'm in this big house. It got sold, so I'm packing as we speak, getting everything together, and I'm condensing down. I don't need this big old house anymore. I know what I need now, since I've been solo for almost 2 years now. And the things that I once thought were important aren't as important as they once were to me.
Yeah. And thank you for sharing that. Why can't I? Oh, what the heck? Stereo. I haven't been on stereo in so long. I'm messing it up. But anyway, yeah, it's people think, you know, there's the saying, the grass is always greener, right? And, you know, people, what I was watching, I forgot what it was I was watching, but, you know, it's the concept of chasing this thing is the joy. Like, the joy is the journey, not necessarily getting it. You know, it's like every person who has a mission or trying to get something, it's like, you want to get this, you know, your dream car, right? And you finally get it. And the day you get it is the apex of your happiness. Because every day after that, now that you have it, it just becomes a car. It just becomes a thing that you have, right? It's not like there's no more wishing for that thing, that amazing thing anymore to strive towards, because you have it and you drive it, and you could still love it, but you're never going to be as excited again about it after that. Like, you know, like the Knicks just won the championship, right? I'm in New York. I've been a Knicks fan forever. You know, they haven't won a championship in my entire lifetime. I was at my prom when last time John Starks lost a game 7. I sucked. But immediately already people are talking about, well, what about next? You know, are we going to get a dynasty? What are we going to do? Like it's the journey, the work, the striving, the trying to get the thing is where the fun is. When you get it, you feel exalted, but then that goes away. What are you going to do? Life doesn't end, right? So until your life ends, being the champions now, it's just going to go down from there. From the moment they won, it's all downhill as far as excitement level from there, right? And the only thing is to try to go after the next thing, come up with a new goal, come up with a new thing to strive for, because the fun is in the journey. You know, we look at life as like a ride to get someplace. You know, this is strictly stolen from Alan Watts. like we look at life as like a journey, like to go from A to B, and like there's a destination, there's an end that's going to be this amazing thing, and it's not. It's like life is about, it's like a dance, or it's like music. Like the goal is not to get to the end of the dance. The goal is it's not to get to a spot on the floor. It's to enjoy the dance, right? And so we get wrapped up, even, Alan talks about even money. He's like, money is not real. It's an accounting. There's no such thing as, money has no value. It's not a real thing. It's like inches. The same thing when they talk about Elon, the trillionaires. Well, it's not a real thing. Like, you gotta understand this. It doesn't. True wealth is the it's the combination of three things: resources, intellect, and time, right? That's what true wealth is. And intellect can also be interchanged with like energy, right? That's what the real wealth is. Money is just an accounting of those things, right? How much resources you have, and Alan uses the example of, if you went to a construction site and you're like, okay, I'm here to work. And like, well, we have no work for you today. Why? We're out of inches. What do you mean we're out of inches? Yeah, we just have no inches today. Inches, we have wood, we have nails, we got this, we got the machinery. Yeah, but we don't have inches. So, come back tomorrow and maybe we'll have more inches. That's what we had in this country. We had a Great Depression where people didn't have any money, but we had all the resources still there. All the resources that we needed were still there. But because our accounting system was messed up, people were dying in the streets and being like, I can't have heat and I can't have food, like heat, food, lumber, everything existed. So the point being is, we get wrapped up in the money side of things, which is not a thing, and forget about what our true wealth is, what the real true thing is, which is, again, our resources, our energy, and time, right? That's the wealthy people will pay all kinds of fake infinite money for time, for your time. Like when people, this is a whole, actually this was trying to circle back to what this whole live was supposed to be about. By the way, I'm going to be doing this 8 to 9 Tuesday and Thursdays from now on. So next time I'll be back on Thursday if you want to. And I'm going to be talking more about money as opposed to all this philosophy stuff. But Midwest got me off on starting talking about SpaceX, and that took me down this road. And since I'm on the road, I kept traveling down it. Right. So, wealthy people will trade money for time every single time. It's like, that's why they pay workers. And when people are are employed or a self-employed person who is trading their time for money, I make X amount of dollars per hour. I make X amount of dollars per year. I make this and that. And then they don't understand. So then they try to take that paradigm that they're in, like the X amount of dollars per hour, per year, per time. And then that's why they can't understand someone like Elon Musk, right? And they're like a trillionaire. Like, I see so many videos where people like, do you know how long it would take you to make $1 trillion? If you made $100,000 a year for in the next 100 million years, you wouldn't make $1 trillion. Well, guess what? That Elon's not working. They're trying, and then they try to put that paradigm. It's like, how he's not worth it because you can't you can't make that much money on time. And they're looking at their paradigm of money and trying to overlay that onto a different paradigm. There's different. I have up, for those in stereo can't see, but I'm on TikTok and I'm on YouTube Live as well. But this is from Robert Kiyosaki. He talks about the cash flow quadrant, or the working quadrant, with the ES on the left, which is employer and self-employed, and then the B and the I on the right, which is the business owner and the investor. And employed people and self-employed people have a different world of money. They're playing a different game than a business owner and an investor. and they're not only playing different games, they're playing opposite games. An employee is looking for security. A business owner or an investor is looking for freedom, right? Like a self-employed person who runs their own business, whether it's a doctor, whether it's a person who runs a store, whatever, they are locked in. Like they are the store, they are the surgeon. They can't do more than the time that they have available. A business owner is different than a person who runs their own, basically owns their own job, because what they are trying to do is build a system that allows them to not be a part of it. Just think of this. I have a friend right now that it's like, it's been like 2 months and she's constantly like, I'm busy. I got this. I got so much stuff going on. I got blah, 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 blah. Elon Musk is running Tesla, SpaceX. Tesla and SpaceX are like both multiple companies over, like, I would say at least 6 to 10 companies inside of those companies. Tesla doesn't just make cars. They're making robots. They're doing solar panels. They're making Powerwall batteries. They're doing, autonomous semi trucks. They're doing, the whole FSD. They got so much stuff inside of Tesla. SpaceX, we reiterated it before. I went through this at the beginning of the show, but between the rockets, the launch rockets, and then Starlink, and then the XAI, and then the X platform, and all the stuff that they've got all kinds of companies in there. So Elon is managing all that, and then as side projects outside of that, he's got Neuralink out there. He's got what's the digging company, the boring company out there. So and then by the way, 20 kids and 4 ex-wives, and it's like, well, he gets the same 24 hours that my friend who is unemployed and has no time has. So they have the same amount of time. So how is one person running multiple companies, and one person is taking care of their kid, and they both feel like they have no time, right? It's just the managing of the time. So a business owner is creating a system that can work without them being a part of the system. And an investor, all they're trying to do is make their money, right? So, which is and being a B or an I, like the opposite of security, like I said, employees look for security. I need a safe, secure job with good benefits, right? A business owner, an Elon person, somebody who's a Bezos, so those, I'm just using those examples because people know, but any kind of business owner is not looking for security. The opposite of security is freedom, right? The most secure people on planet Earth are in jail, right? That's the most secure you can get. You lose all your freedoms. We'll bring you some food and water, and you can just be in these walls for 24/7, and you'll be very secure, and you just have no freedom, right? But the people who are the most free have the least security. It's just how it goes, right? And so these are different. They're not just different. Like I said, they're opposites. And they don't understand each other. Investors don't understand why you would take your money as an employee, why you would trade your time for money constantly. And they're like, I'm just going to trade my money for money. I'm constantly looking for a better return on investment, a better internal rate of return. I'm looking for how can I put every single dollar, how can I buy all my things with my money, not my time. I'm not trying to get it promoted or have more responsibility that I need to put more time in. It's completely different. So this is more we'll talk about. Again, I'm like 45 minutes over my time. All right. Let me take one more. I'm take one more comment. Please check if you guys want to. I'm starting off, just so you know, I'm starting a career. I'm starting my own business as a certified financial planner. My goal is to come on here twice a week and just talk about money and investments. I got into SpaceX because that's the big thing, but I'm going to try to avoid that in the future. Maybe I'll do some different shows about talking about individual stocks. But yeah, feel free to reach out as far as that goes. That's the point here. I'm going to be talking about financial stuff and just basic mindset of money. But let me get my last message here. Silver.
So you're saying people can become depressed because they've got everything and there's nothing more to gain, and I kind of agree with you. But would that not be the scenario that if AI replaces all the jobs, that's the scenario that everybody's basically going to go to? I mean, because you said whatever you can get, as long as it's not scarce, you can basically get. So there'll be nothing really to chase. And I actually do think that people would still have status, maybe if they are military, and then if they are the descendants of maybe Bill Gates, or if they are the people that control the AI.
Well, what I was getting at, and thank you, Silver, you asked great questions, appreciate them. What I was trying to get at is those people who their entire identity is wrapped up in trying to get some kind of material thing, and they keep driving towards that. And then once they get to the certain point, like if your goal is to make money and you want to become a doctor, right? Or you try to say, okay, how can I make money? If you become a doctor to make money, then you get to a point where, okay, now you have all the money and being a doctor is not exciting anymore, right? But somebody who becomes a doctor because they like helping people, or because they want to heal people, or they like the feeling of the families that they save and blah, 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 they might make a lot of money and get to that point, but they don't lose their identity, right? So the idea of wrapping ourselves in economic value only is not a good idea, because eventually just trying to get things and that's your identity, what happens when you get all the things, right? There's never going to become a point where you help enough people, right? Or you can be or you can spend enough time raising your children, right? Or enjoying the countryside, right? Like of traveling, right? You're never going to be able to, not enough time to you just travel, and that's what you love doing, and just seeing new things. There's always new things to see, to learn, to find, to experience, right? So that's what I was talking about, the finding value other than the economic value. Getting the biggest house at some point, a bigger house doesn't do anything for you anymore. Once you get it, once you obtain these things, if you have an endpoint, but you want to be in an infinite game, you want to attach your value system to something that's not that's a work in progress always. You can always get better. I think it was a movie once where somebody was like, they completed yoga. I finished yoga. It's like, you can't finish yoga. It's like they did, like, I just did the hardest pose ever and now I finished yoga. I beat it. It's like, no, that's not how yoga works. So anyway, all right. Thank you so much. Silver Mustache Cash, good luck with your house. Lava Traction, I see you in here. So Midwest just bounced out. I got to get going and start my day. I was only supposed to do this for an hour. I'm going to be doing this for an hour in the future, Tuesdays and Thursdays. This one went off on a unexpected path, but it is what it is. Also, you can find me on TikTok. I do this live on TikTok, on Stereo, and on my YouTube page, which is which YouTube am I on today? I'm going to be doing it on my Bright Futures YouTube, but I want to make sure I at least, this will be a work in progress. And also, I am working on becoming a certified financial planner. So this stuff is not really financial advice, but I will be doing that more one-on-one in the future. So what is my YouTube? Anyway, I'll post it somewhere. I can't even find it. I'm on the wrong. It's the first day, and I just started chatting. And Midwest, a friend of mine, he got me off on a tangent. Bright Futures, that's it. My YouTube is, I'm under the Bright Futures. Why does it keep taking me to the Wise Community? Interesting. All right, I got to fix that. Yeah, if you want to look me up on YouTube, it's just Bright Futures Community. That's the YouTube. All right, that's it for now. I'll see you guys on Thursday. Thank you for the interactions and the comments, and I will see you soon. What the heck is with my YouTube channel? View your channel. Thank you. Oh, still live here on TikTok. All right, we'll go off of TikTok as well. I think there were some people in here. Lost, I saw you here before. I got to get better at watching the TikTok side of this. I will get better at everything. Oh, I'm not even looking at the camera. Thank you for hanging out. Hopefully you got some good stuff. You can check me out also on YouTube. Bright Futures Community is my YouTube channel, and here on stereo. I mean on TikTok.
Let's be real, it works. Typically, a man was up this pump. You know what I'm saying? Like that's just what it is. The pump thing, right? She don't have to leg, but the fact that she has a guy that she has that. Here, let me get you a train, right? Let me buy you this. Let me get you that. You know what I'm saying? So it can be used for however they use it. But I'm just saying, for the ones who have used it for intercourse, right? They understand that damn. Wow, this shit. Wait, like I'm not getting the callbacks. I'm not getting nobody trying to get me X, Y, and Z. Like they understand that. You know what I'm saying? Now they're not gonna say it out loud. I gotta go pick up my power. My power about to land. Shout out to you.
To revisit your history.
Hello,
Hello.
what's up?
Nothing. I'm just calling you back. I was making a video when you called, so I couldn't answer.
Nothing important. I just called to say good morning.
Oh, good morning. Let me go look at the pool. I haven't even looked.
Oh, did you order the bar, the rail?
No, I haven't had a chance to do that yet. But,
Okay.
we go. I'll look at what else today. It's like that. It's the green-ish, but it's not what. Anyway.
So shocked. When I said when I